Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Now I'm a few days late in doing this, but I did just want to come on here and just say a few words about the passing of the great actor Donald Sutherland, who just passed away this last week at the age of 88. Absolutely terrific Canadian actor. Now the first thing that I thought of as soon as I heard that news was this. I don't make it very scary, but Donald Sutherland certainly did in the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers, an absolutely classic one from 1978, directed by Philip Kaufman. And I remember just watching this as a young kid. My family saw it as well, and ever since we've seen this movie, we've been freaking each other out by reenacting Donald Sutherland's moment from this movie. Probably actually one of the most unsettling things you'll see in a movie that doesn't involve any kind of special effects. It's just this chilling look that Donald Sutherland gives in this movie, and you'll know the moment if you've seen this film. But yeah, absolutely tremendous film, this one. Absolutely love it. But yeah, I'm not going to go through all of Donald Sutherland's filmography here, perhaps just pick on a few random things, I suppose. I mean, definitely when you go back to his early filmography, he started off in films where he had quite a few performances where he was getting to show the sort of more goofy side of his nature. So that included his role as Oddball in the film Kelly's Heroes. You can see him here. So yeah, a hippie tank commander. But yeah, a good role for him here, alongside Clint Eastwood, Telly Savalas and Don Rickles. And then also as Hawkeye in Robert Altman's film of MASH. Although I must say for me, because I grew up watching the TV series, Robert Altman's film doesn't have quite as strong a place in my heart, I suppose, as the TV series. On a negative side, just briefly, although I would say that when you think of Donald Sutherland, he's just a safe pair of hands in terms of all the film roles he's done. Yeah, well, maybe there might be one exception, and that is Die, Die, My Darling, also known as Nightmare. This is a Hammer movie, very early on in his career, but he plays this simpleton gardener in this film, and it's a bit of an unfortunate role. I'm not sure it's one that he would be proud of on his resume, but nonetheless, the film still has some typical kind of Hammer charm. You know, all the Hammer films don't always have the best scripts, and this is certainly no exception, but it's still quite entertaining, starring Tallulah Bankhead and Stephanie Powers as well. But yeah, Donald Sutherland's role as this kind of simpleton gardener is a little bit questionable. Now, when it comes to thinking about Donald Sutherland as a main actor, I think there's definitely two films in the 70s that spring to mind. One of them is Don't Look Now, directed by Nicholas Roeg from 1973, co-starring Julie Christie and adapted from the Daphne du Maurier novel. A really unconventional kind of suspenseful thriller, this, involving the loss of their daughter whilst they're on a trip to Venice. But it isn't just a straightforward thriller, and Nicholas Roeg certainly gives it lots of unconventional touches, including a very famous sex scene in this. But this, as with the other 70s film I'll mention in a second, just really highlights just how Donald Sutherland is good at starring alongside a strong female character. So Julie Christie definitely is a strong performance in this, and he doesn't sort of overshadow that at all, but he's certainly fantastic in it. And then the other 70s film, of course, is this one, Klute, directed by Alan J. Pakula and co-starring Jane Fonda, who won an Oscar for her performance. And really, again, this kind of shows the significance of Donald Sutherland not allowing his performance to overshadow that of his co-star. So really, although the film is called Klute, it's very much about Jane Fonda's character, Bree Daniels, a prostitute in this. Donald Sutherland playing a private investigator who's trying to do a missing persons investigation, and it involves him getting into various kind of conversations with Bree Daniels here. But yeah, Jane Fonda definitely gets the opportunity to shine in this film with lots of extensive monologues, but Donald Sutherland just complements her performance really nicely, doesn't overplay it at all. So yeah, this is again, it's a really unconventional one. At the time when it came out, it had sort of mixed reporting, and there were people thinking that it was too slow and it's not a conventional thriller, and it definitely isn't. But yeah, it's one of his most interesting performances from the 70s for sure. And I actually have this book here, The Films of the 70s, which just has a few nice shots here of the film. And again, but yeah, Klute, Don't Look Now, definitely hugely significant films for Donald Sutherland in his career. And they're perhaps Marmite films, I suppose, because they're hugely unconventional in how they're told. They're not just straightforward thrillers or dramas. And so, yeah, they might not necessarily be everyone's cup of tea, but yeah, they're hugely fascinating. But sticking with that theme of Donald Sutherland really complimenting his female co-star, that then brings me to the film that he did in 1980, and it's perhaps my favourite performance of his, and that's in Ordinary People. So again, we've got Mary Tyler Moore, who won an Oscar for her performance, whilst Donald Sutherland is a little bit on the sidelines here, but his character here is hugely important. So this is a really sort of touching drama that involves a family breakdown after the death of a young son, and then we've then got Timothy Hutton as the older son who's trying to come to terms with that grief, and we've got Mary Tyler Moore as the mother who just shuts down emotionally and becomes really cold and cruel to her son, and Donald Sutherland is the father in the middle who's trying to be empathetic to everyone and just cope. So this is a family that's in breakdown. Really impressive drama this. I absolutely loved it. This is the film that won Robert Redford a Best Directing Oscar, and this was the same year that Raging Bull was nominated as well. So partly for that reason, there's a lot of people who sided against Ordinary People just because they thought Martin Scorsese should have won that year. So this one has perhaps lessened in reputation over the years a little bit, but it's just such a brilliant drama. Yeah, you've got great performances from all the cast in this. Definitely a career best, I would say, from Mary Tyler Moore, but yeah, Donald Sutherland is just so empathetic in this. I really love his performance. Yeah, definitely worth seeing. And then really when it comes to the rest of Donald Sutherland's career, it's just amazing if you think about the range of different types of films that he's been in, and just he is always dependable, he's always reliable, and you always look forward to seeing him in a role, whether it's a small role or a significant one. And just the timbre of his voice and that glint in his eye, he can just change very easily from sort of comedic, goofy type performances, particularly in his earlier career, to more hardened performances which might be menacing, they might be sinister, they might be empathetic, or they might be authoritative, and definitely for a lot of audiences nowadays who might not be familiar with Donald Sutherland's 70s and 80s career, I'm sure that they will know him from being President Snow in the Hunger Games movies. So similarly, I guess, with Michael Gambon and Richard Harris in the Harry Potter films, for younger audiences, that's the kind of film that they associate them with. They don't know about the rest of their career. So I imagine there's a lot of younger people who just think of Donald Sutherland, oh yeah, he's that guy in the Hunger Games. But yeah, still, it was a great role for him. One thriller that he did back in 1981, directed by Richard Marquand, who also directed Return of the Jedi, is this one, Eye of the Needle. And it's one I've always wished I liked more than I actually did. It's a little bit unsatisfying as a thriller, but still, Donald Sutherland is worth watching in this. He is really excellent. So yeah, this is the type of thing. There's a lot of films where Donald Sutherland just elevates the film. The film itself might not be hugely satisfying as a whole, but he is just always dependable. And actually, there's a few Donald Sutherland movies that I've picked up along the way, and I still haven't got around to watching them yet, so I need to get to those. So, for example, I have this one, The Puppet Masters, adapted from a Robert A. Heinlein novel, and this one has Donald Sutherland as a government agent investigating extraterrestrial beings. And I really must see this one. This is Johnny Got His Gun from 1971, written and directed by Dalton Trumbo. And it's got Timothy Bottoms as a World War I soldier who is having dreams and memories. This is an anti-war film. But yeah, Donald Sutherland appears in dream sequences in this as Christ. So yeah, this one definitely sounds intriguing and fascinating. And then from more recent years, we've got this one, The Leisure Seeker, that he's done with Helen Mirren, which involves an old couple deciding to go on a road trip together. So yeah, I'm sure this one could be quite lovely. And again, I'm sure that he does a performance which doesn't overshadow Helen Mirren's. So yeah, I look forward to seeing this one. And then finally, I'll just show you this. This is the Dirty Dozen Laserdisc that I have, which has a really fantastic artwork poster there. Really incredible stuff. Now, Donald Sutherland only has a minor role in this film, but he does actually make it onto the cover here, so you can see him here. So I just thought that was a nice touch just to show you that. So pretty random kind of comments there in terms of some of his films. There's a lot of films that I have seen which I haven't talked about here, and certainly a lot more that I haven't seen which I need to catch up on. But I think that's probably the case for all of us. There's actors and actresses, and we can enjoy exploring their filmographies more or revisit old favourites. So yeah, let me know in the comments your particular favourites of Donald Sutherland. A fantastic actor with so many different types of roles to his credit. So yeah, any thoughts and comments that you have, I'll be pleased to read them. Thanks for joining me on this one. I'll see you again. Okay, bye-bye.